My name is Tony, and as I sat down to reflect on the upcoming international rugby season, I could feel the excitement building across Australia. The end of another demanding Super Rugby Pacific campaign had arrived, and with it came a shift in focus toward the Test arena, where reputations are forged, dreams are realized, and nations battle for pride on the biggest stages of the sport. For Australian rugby supporters, this year's Nations Championship carried even greater significance. It was not simply the beginning of another international season. It represented a fresh opportunity for the Wallabies to prove themselves against some of the toughest opponents in world rugby and to begin writing a new chapter in their journey. The Wallabies entered the year carrying the weight of expectation. Their performances during 2025 had shown flashes of promise, but consistency had remained elusive. Winning only 5 of their 15 Test matches had left many supporters frustrated and eager for improvement. There was no shortage of talent within the Australian squad, yet the challenge had always been turning potential into results. As the players gathered for another international campaign, everyone understood that the time for excuses had passed. The rugby world would be watching closely to see whether Australia could rise once again. For me, the story began in Sydney. The famous Allianz Stadium would host the opening test of Australia's Nations Championship campaign on July 4th. Standing in the heart of one of the country's greatest sporting cities, the Wallabies would welcome Ireland, one of the most formidable teams in international rugby. It was the kind of fixture that instantly captured attention. Australia versus Ireland had become one of the most compelling rivalries in modern rugby, filled with drama, intensity, and unforgettable moments. As I looked deeper into the challenge facing Australia, one statistic stood out above all others. Ireland had won the last 5 meetings between the two nations. That record told a story of dominance, discipline, and relentless improvement from the Irish side. Every time these teams had met in recent years, Ireland had found a way to come out on top. For Australia, this match was about far more than simply starting the season with a victory. It was about breaking a cycle and proving they could once again compete with the very best teams in the world. The task would not be easy. Ireland had established themselves among rugby's elite nations. Their players had developed a reputation for precision, intelligence, and resilience. They entered the contest ranked 3rd in the world, while Australia sat 8th. Rankings alone do not determine outcomes, but they often reflect consistency, and Ireland's recent performances had certainly earned respect across the rugby landscape. The memories of the previous meeting between these nations were still fresh. In Dublin, Ireland had delivered a commanding performance, securing a convincing victory and demonstrating why they remained one of the strongest teams in international rugby. Australian supporters remembered that result well, and many hoped the return fixture would offer an opportunity for redemption. Adding another layer of intrigue was the appointment of experienced New Zealand referee Ben O'Keefe. Widely respected across international rugby, Ben O'Keefe had officiated some of the sport's biggest matches. His presence ensured that the contest would be managed by one of the game's most trusted officials. Players from both teams understood that discipline would be crucial because any mistakes could prove costly under such experienced oversight. As preparations intensified, attention naturally turned toward Wallabies head coach Joe Schmidt. Few individuals understood Irish rugby better than Joe Schmidt. Having previously coached Ireland and helped transform them into a global powerhouse, he possessed unique insight into the strengths and weaknesses of the opposition. His knowledge would undoubtedly prove valuable as Australia developed its strategy. For Joe Schmidt, however, this season carried emotional significance as well. He knew that his time leading the Wallabies was approaching its conclusion. Every training session, every team meeting, and every test match carried additional importance because he was preparing to hand over responsibility at the end of the campaign. the desire to leave Australian rugby in a stronger position than he found it would undoubtedly fuel his determination. The history between Australia and Ireland on Australian soil added even more intrigue. The last time Ireland toured Australia, they secured a memorable series victory. Many Australian supporters still remembered the intense battles that unfolded across Brisbane, Melbourne, and Sydney. The Wallabies had started strongly, but Ireland ultimately demonstrated their resilience and adaptability to claim the series. Since then, Irish rugby had continued to evolve, becoming even more dangerous. As the countdown to kickoff continued, fans debated team selections, tactical approaches, and potential match winners. Every conversation seemed to revolve around one central question: could Australia finally overcome Ireland? Yet the Irish challenge was only the beginning. 1 week later, Australia would travel north to Brisbane, where another major test awaited. At Suncorp Stadium, often regarded as one of rugby's great venues, the Wallabies would face France. If Ireland represented one of the most organized teams in world rugby, France represented one of the most explosive. Under head coach Fabien Galthy, France had undergone a remarkable transformation. Once known for unpredictability, they had evolved into a disciplined, confident, and highly effective rugby force. Their combination of physicality, skill, and creativity made them dangerous opponents for any nation.